Gosh, I'm so excited. I'm really looking forward to Wednesdays. I don't know what I'm going to do with myself once this is over. But today, you guys, USANA family, I'm so excited. I understand now why this is the topic that Dr. Rob saved for last, because I really think it's the heartbeat of why we do what we do. And I also think it's why our customers stay the course. It's the most important part of what we do, I think. So I'm really excited to learn how I can further improve our daily habits and even strengthen further the daily habits that we do with USANA and really understand better the preventative role that we have in our own hands and staying in the driver's seat of our health. So, Dre, tell us a little bit about Dr. Rob for our new guests here who are joining us.
Well, guys, I will tell you that the last few weeks I've had the honor and pleasure of just introducing everyone to who Dr. Rob is. And every time I go through his credentials, it never ceases to amaze me. So I'm going to read you a little bit of his bio, and then I'll get us into the night. All right, so Dr. Rob Sinnott, with over 25 years of experience in leadership and life sciences, chemistry, biotechnology, nutrition. Dr. Rob Sinnott has numerous scientific and leadership roles and numerous degrees. Degrees in biological science, degrees in nutrition, supplements, degrees in biological science and nutritional science, a doctoral in plant sciences from Arizona State University. He also applied biological sciences, including biotechnology and plant medicinal chemistry. So far, I'm just thinking, I can't even pronounce some of these words, and he has multiple degrees in them, okay? In addition, he's completed postgraduate work at the Harvard Business School, Wharton, University of Chicago, London Business School, Massachusetts Institute of Technology, and I guess in his spare time, he ended up doing an additional degree at Hong Kong University for Science and Technology. Oh, and the Brookings Institute, focusing on business strategy, R&D and management. So the reason why I say all of those and I go through them is because this is somebody who has taken their entire life and dedicated it to not only educating themselves, but continuing learning the cutting edge of not just nutrition, but you see like business and all of these different things. And I'm just so happy that you're here today to take us through the preventative landscape. And Dr. Rob, I'm just going to tell everybody who's listening, and for those of you who are in the chat, make sure you type it so the new people see it. At the end of the call, we're going to announce a little surprise. And you will learn about the surprise if you stay till the end. And trust me, you want to stay. Dr. Rob, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much, Andre. Gosh, it's great. I feel like I've got a whole set of new friends now. And Andre, we met in person before, and Krista, we've met just briefly in person. But now I feel like I've got good friends. So I'm thank you so much for that. Guys, going through those degrees and everything, I don't want this to sound intimidating because, I give all credit to God. Everything I do in my life is just because I'm following something that I'm passionate about. And what I'm passionate about is health and wellness. My whole life, I've just been very passionate about health and wellness. I got into it very young when I was just in high school. I studied biochemistry. I actually stole my dad's college chemistry textbook when I was in 8th grade. He had these books from he came from a very poor family, and his father was a coal miner, and my father never got a chance to really go to college. He got to go to college for 1 year. And these college books that he had were just like his prized possessions, and he kept them on his shelf, and you could tell they were very treasured. But I would sneak in there and I would borrow books every now and then just because I loved them, because he loved them so much. So it just rubbed off on me. And one of the books I just happened to grab one day was all about chemistry and biochemistry. And I was just really intrigued by that. And this whole thing about biohacking nowadays and being able to turn on switches in your body and increase your longevity and things like that, that's exactly what I was into. And this was back in the 1970s. So the technology back then and the things that we had available were not what we have available now. Today, we're so blessed. We've got so much available to us that we can use to increase our lifespan. So the talk today is all about lifespan and health span and how to increase those and why you want to increase them. Because a lot of people think it's inevitable, that, when you get to 60, 70 years old, you start just breaking down and the rest of the ride is not very pleasant ride. And I see people defying that all the time. I lived here in this scenery behind me is actually a picture from my backyard last night, right before sunset. So I live up here. I live in the mountains of Utah and Park City. And there's actually a lot of people up here that are older people, but they're all physically active. And so I run into people all the time that are in their 70s, their 80s. They're out hiking every day. They're out walking, and they look fantastic. And God knows how long they're going to live. I personally believe the human lifespan is probably about 150 years. If we do everything right, I think our bodies are actually, and there's a lot of science behind this. I'm not just pulling a number out of the air. This is something I've studied for decades. And I believe it's completely possible for people to have a healthy lifespan to 150 years if we did the right things. And I think we're starting to do some of the right things, but it's inconsistent. And so today what I want to do is kind of share with you some of the things I've learned along the way and see if I can kind of give some advice over from things I've learned as I've gone along. Can you see that screen okay? Okay, so that's me. This is our office at USANA headquarters. If you ever get a chance to visit us in Salt Lake City, well, probably not now, would probably not be a good time. But in the future, probably next year or so, come and see us. This is our beautiful building. I'm actually here. I'm actually behind these ladies here. My office is actually up there on the third floor, right behind those ladies. I can't see them from inside. You can only see the image from the outside. But anyway, so, I work with just a wonderful team. This is something that, wait, let me, let's see. Can you guys see this okay? Oh, there we go. Okay, so this is something that I should have probably shared from the very first day. And I kind of regret that we've gone through 3 episodes and I haven't shared this team picture. This is my team. This is the team of scientists I work with every single day. And this isn't all of them. This is the ones that we could get together for a photograph, because a lot of them are on duty. We can't pull them away from manufacturing and out of the laboratory for a photograph. So these were the scientists that were available on one weekday morning at like 7 a.m. We all came in and took a photo. That's why we probably all look kind of sleepy. But I'll tell you, these guys are brilliant. We've got scientists from all over the world. I've got all sorts of scientists. There's medical doctors, there's nutritionists, there's biochemists, there's nurses, there's all sorts of technicians, people that, are way smart, that are working on this USANA stuff every day. And I'll tell you, these guys have never missed a day of work. So even with this pandemic that's ripping through, hitting the United States very hard right now, I was just in the office this morning. I was meeting with Kevin Guest, Jim Brown, and the executive team, a lot of the chiefs, and went down and visited my team. And everybody's there. Well, not everybody, but most everybody. The other ones are working from home. But I'm telling you, we haven't missed a single beat at USANA. So we worked with the Utah state government very early on to make sure that USANA was designated as an essential manufacturer, since we produce both health products and what are classified as medicines in other countries. And so we were designated by the governor as an essential business, and we were never shut down. So we were operating, although we did take precautions, and pretty much anybody that could work from home, we did ask them to work from home. And nowadays, doing research and development from home is not that difficult, because a lot of the regulatory work that we do is through online databases, government databases. a lot of the research work that we do, you know, looking at papers that have been published, journals, all that stuff. You know, it used to be that you had to go to a university library to get all that information, and now nobody goes to the library anymore. It's all online. Within seconds, you can find what you want. You can download it and read it and all that stuff. So actually, so this team is actually just, I mean, they're fantastic. I ran into probably about 10 of these guys this afternoon in the building when I was there, and it's just great seeing their beautiful faces again. Just a great team. So let's start with the good news. Okay, I always like to start with good news. You know, I don't want to be a Debbie Downer here. So the good news is, if you look at the progress we've made over the last 120 years from the turn of the 1900s, so 19th century, we've increased our lifespan pretty dramatically. So the average lifespan now is, you know, 80 years old. The average lifespan just 120 years ago was only 55. So pretty much this would have been my last year to look forward to back in 1900. And actually my grandfather, who was a coal miner back from that period of time, that's exactly, he died at 52. And so people didn't live, they lived hard. They didn't really take good care of themselves. It was the height of the industrial age. There's a lot of pollution, bad nutrition, a lot of poverty. And so we've made a lot of progress. So we've got to give ourselves a pat on the back for that. You know, as the human race, we're trying and we're making progress. The issue is, if you talk to visionaries like Dr. Wentz, he still believes that we're living too short and dying too long. And it's an interesting thing. He's also he has a degree in I believe literature as well as being a microbiologist, PhD. So a lot of times his words are very meaningful. And what he's saying here is that even though our lifespan has increased, what's happened is we've got a lot of people that are hanging on for longer. So they may not be dying until 85. But they're certainly not healthy until the year they die. So dying too long means that there's these unhealthy periods towards the end of our life that are getting longer and longer. And in Dr. Wentz's opinion, I totally agree with him. I know that the science backs this up, is that is in a lot of cases completely preventable. So let's talk. Okay, so let's take a look at the cost of healthcare. Okay, the cost, and then, okay, so all the figures I'm using right now are from the United States. Okay, but you know, Canada, they have a different healthcare system. You know, that's more of a government pay system. But the simple fact is, you know, if you're using a Western medical system, whether it's Canada, Australia, the European Union, Mexico, wherever it is, it's getting very expensive. So healthcare is rising faster than almost any other cost that people encounter. So it's increasing at about 20% per year, which is just unsustainable. It's been doing that for decades. But now, just for an average person, it's about 11,000 US dollars per year in healthcare costs. Okay, and that's, you know, in a lot of cases, that's more than people make. And this will bankrupt the country eventually. And so this is something that, you know, we need to pay attention to, because it's hitting our pocketbooks. So depending on where you live, you may be paying this out of pocket. You know, the government may be paying it from tax revenue or whatever it is. But if you think about it, it's all coming out of your pocket, because the tax revenue the government has actually came from your pocket anyway. So it's just kind of a roundabout way that these things are increasing, and we need to pay attention to it. So little investments that we can make in our health to offset this expense are really beneficial. Another interesting statistic is that if you're fortunate enough to be one of those people that lives 85 years or older, it's not all good news. As a matter of fact, if you're 85 years or older, your medical expenses increase dramatically. So it goes from being what, $10,000, $11,000 to over almost $20,000 per year in medical expenses. And that's just a bad thing to happen to somebody that's older. So basically their last few years can be the years that bankrupt them or bankrupt their family. And that's not a good situation. And so, okay, so I'm giving you the hard reality. I don't want to dwell on this too much. Let's go on to the solutions. So the fact is that lifespan is outpacing health span. Okay, so we're living longer, but the healthy period is actually not getting much longer. So how do we bridge this gap between health span and lifespan? It's a big gap, it's a dangerous jump, but people make it all the time. And how do they do this? And I got some answers for you. Because what you have to pay attention to is that gap between health span and lifespan. In a lot of cases, it's based on the decisions that we make. So it's true, there's a genetic component to it. True, and it's not like we can go back and pick our parents. Our parents picked us. So you kind of have to deal with the genetic hand that you've been dealt. But at the same time, a lot of this is not based on genetics. A lot of it is based on lifestyle and decisions that you make about how you're going to live your life, the foods you're going to eat, whether you're going to get up in the morning and do some exercise, or, you're going to stay up late watching TV and not get up in the morning and exercise, things like that. So a lot of this is all decision based, and that's what we're going to talk about, because those are the controllable factors. Okay, so this is data from the U.S. government that says that chronic degenerative conditions cause 66% of deaths. Okay, so the majority of deaths are caused by what are known as chronic degenerative conditions. So they're things that are not like being hit by a bus or, being struck by lightning or, things like that. It's stuff that over years you just basically degenerate. And like I said, a lot of this is preventable. So let's talk about that. So some of the chronic degenerative conditions that are preventable, and this was published in the journal Science, which is probably the premier scientific journal in the world. So this is based on very stringent data. But they found that the 4 leading causes of death in the Western world, and so it's not just the United States, but in the Western world, in the developed world, are caused by 4 different things. They're caused by colon cancer, stroke, coronary heart disease, and type 2 diabetes. And so those are the bars that are represented on this slide. And if you look at it, things like colon cancer are almost 75% preventable. Okay, so not quite there. So there's a genetic component, probably 25%, that you can't control for. Even if you were eating really well, there's going to be a 25% contribution there from your genetics that you can't offset. For stroke, again, stroke runs in families. Clotting, there's all sorts of clotting disorders and atrial fibrillation and things like that contribute to stroke. But again, almost 75% of it can be due to factors that we can control. And then we get down to coronary heart disease, which is the #1 killer in the United States and in the Western world. And that one is over 75%, almost 80% preventable. So it's not like heart disease sneaks up on you, or just catches you by surprise. It's something that develops over time. It can be diagnosed. And actually, they're getting better and better at looking at early signs of this so that they can try and convince people to intervene and change their way of life. And then the #1, the leading cause down here is type 2 diabetes. And if you look at that one is almost 90% preventable. So that's one of the leading causes of short health span and short lifespan in the Western world. And that one is almost completely preventable. And how do you do that? Well, if you look at things like type 2 diabetes, right? A lot of that is based on weight. Okay. And as I shared with you last week, I have some personal experience with this where, you know, I was living a lifestyle that was unhealthy when I was a NASDAQ CEO. And I got away from the lifestyle that I had lived with my whole life, which was a very healthy lifestyle. And I got into an unhealthy lifestyle. And all of a sudden, sure enough, pre-diabetic syndrome just kicked in. You know, I was diagnosed with that, and I was 50 pounds heavier than I was now. And, you know, ended up, I would have been on the track to be one of these, you know, one of these people with very short lifespan and very short health span. But the thing is, I woke up to it and I said, you know what, it's not worth dying early for. You know, walk away from that and find something else I want to do that I'm really passionate about, which is the science of technology. So anyway, I really committed to that. I dropped 50 pounds, and guess what? Amazingly, all this stuff went away. So literally, I went from being from actually having type 2 diabetes to reversing that, not having it. I had high blood pressure, was able to reverse that to a large extent. A lot of other things, you know, blood glucose was very high, was able to reverse that just by losing some weight and making exercise part of the daily. So I'm telling you, from a personal point of view, I live this. I know that this is true. This data is true. So some people dismiss that, oh, you know, science, it's obscure, it's statistics, whatever. You know what? This stuff is real. And for the smart people, you'll pay attention to it. Okay, another thing, let's look. I mean, this is really well known. Here's the things that contribute to early death and short lifespan. Smoking. If you're doing it, stop. I mean, there's absolutely no reason for that. Just stop it. High blood pressure. Well, how do you control that? Like I just told you, a lot of it has to do with weight. You know, as soon as I dropped 50 pounds, all of a sudden my blood pressure went back into the normal range. Obesity, that's dropping some weight. Physical inactivity. I was physically inactive. I had stopped exercising, and now I exercise every day. All of these things that you saw on this list, I've personally experienced this. The low dietary omega-3s, a lot of that is, you know, we grew up on a diet. If you think about what we historically grew up on, or I'm not us, but our ancestors grew up on, the diet was very different. There was a lot of fish. There was a lot of fruits and nuts, you know, unprocessed. You know, they weren't sent through a factory first before we got to them. You know, we picked them off the tree or picked them off the ground and we ate them, and we got all the nutrients that were in them. Omega-3s, this is really interesting. A lot of omega-3, you know, we used to get omega-3s from oils, which we get from seeds and nuts and things that we ate. And the industrial processes that were developed during the 1900s for processing oils on a commercial scale, they actually stripped the omega-3s out of the oil. They also stripped the vitamin E out of the oil. And I'll tell you why, is because it was detrimental to shelf life. Because if you left those things in there, like fresh pressed virgin olive oil, if you ever have that, it's delicious, it's very healthy for you. But the problem is it goes rancid. You know, you can't leave it out for more than a few days because it goes rancid. So you have to eat it really fast or refrigerate it. And a lot of people don't want to do that. So the industrial practice was to strip these nutrients out because they were detrimental to shelf life. They weren't thinking about long-term nutrition. So now people are thinking about this, but actually it's really interesting. Our source for some of the tocopherols, the natural vitamin E's that we use in USANA, the Cell Essentials, and some of our other products, those come as a byproduct of the oil production industry, the vegetable oil production. So basically, they're taking those out of the oil so that they don't affect shelf life. They're selling the oil to certain customers, and then they're selling us the vitamin portion of it. So all those things used to be together, and now they've got two separate customers for them. You know, so if you're just eating processed oils or stuff that you buy off the shelf, even if you're buying them in a health food store, in a lot of cases, those tocopherols have been stripped out to increase the shelf life. So these are the things that our industrial practices of the 1900s have really been detrimental, but luckily we're going the other way. Okay, well, here you go. Okay, this slide shows it right there. Okay, these are deficiencies of vitamins in the North American diet. So this includes America, and I believe it also includes parts of Canada as well. Look at that, vitamin E, a major vitamin, antioxidant, protective system, has a lot to do with immune function, your blood cell, the life of your blood cells, the life of your immune system cells. Look at that. 89% of men are deficient in vitamin E. 97% of women are deficient in vitamin E. That's really sad. That's dangerous. You know, that's not just some number. That's going to cut into health span and lifespan. We've got to figure out a way of getting those things back into people's bodies so that they can, if you want to achieve maximum lifespan and health span, you have to have all these things in the proper amounts that your body needs. So you're looking at all those deficiencies there. Okay, percent of men and 30% deficient in zinc. Okay, and I'll tell you what that is that men eat more meat than women do. And zinc, a lot of the source of zinc comes from meat and animal products. And so it makes sense that men would be less deficient than women. But the thing is that zinc is super important for immune system support. You know, it's one of the most well-studied, you see it in the news all the time today about zinc. And so it's one of those things you don't want to miss. So all these vitamins are very important. Vitamin D, look down there. Almost 60% of both men and women are deficient in vitamin D. And again, that's something you see in the news all the time, in the media, because they're finding out vitamin D has a lot to do with immune protection. And you're going to see a lot of papers published on this that is very exciting. Okay, I got to keep going. I can get wrapped up in this forever. I used to be a professor, if you can't tell. Okay, so can supplements really help? And you know what? There's not been a lot of money put into the research on supplements because it's not a pharmaceutical and there's not a lot of money involved in this. But there is an industry organization called CRN. And CRN is the Council of Responsible Nutrition and is the trade industry of the nutritional supplement industry. And I was privileged to be the chair of the scientific committee for that for 4 years back in the early 2000s. And so I know the work that these guys have done, and they do some really good work. But here's something that they can clearly say, this has been cleared by the US government, is that they can say that there are 8 supplements that can have a huge intervention risk or risk reduction if you take them. And these are the things like omega-3s, the B vitamins, the phytosterols, chromium, zeaxanthin, calcium, and magnesium. And the great thing is USANA has all those. You know, Dr. Wentz reads all this stuff. He was an early scientist in this area. And so we have offerings in all these areas. We've got great products that can really help in all of these areas. Okay, so people ask me, they're like, okay, well, now you've got my attention. So beside exercising and eating better than what I do right now, what can I do? Like, what product would you recommend that I start with? Okay, and I have to tell you, I'm not a salesperson. I mean, I'm kind of preaching to the choir right now because you guys are the best health advocates out there. Krista, Andre, all you guys are just doing just fantastic work, preaching and just trying to open people's eyes about nutrition and wellness. I'm telling you, we're not going to solve it all with a pill. If you smoke and you don't exercise and you take Essentials, it's probably going to help some, but it's not really going to help a lot. You've got to change your whole life. But anyway, the product I would recommend, when people ask me what one product can I take that would really, it's the Essentials. You really have to start with the basics. And I'll show you why, is this one covers so many bases for people. Okay, look at all the organ systems that this affects. Okay, so this multivitamin, multi-mineral complex that has cell signaling compounds in it covers so many bases, just so many organ systems, the energy production systems in your body, which are required for everything we do, your heart, your brain, your nerves, your eyes, your bones, your immunity, your muscles, your skin, your digestive tract, and your mood. Okay, and people say, okay, well, if I start taking it, what will I see? And I've got an answer for you. This is from my experience from over 30 years of, if you get somebody who's never taken a multivitamin, multimineral before, and they're eating an ordinary diet, let's say they're not unusually unhealthy, but they're not like vegetarian either. What are they going to notice first? Well, one of the effects they're going to notice first is their skin, their hair, and their nails. Okay, you may say, well, that's not really that important. It's okay. Let's say it is, but let's say it's not super important. But the thing is, it's one of the early indicators that you'll see. So if you're looking for an early sign that these products are having an effect on your body, one of the first things you'll see is that your hair starts growing a lot longer and more lush. Your nails, your fingernails, you'll have, it's kind of annoying. You'll have to cut your nails every single day. It's kind of annoying having to do that, but I take it as a good sign, because what it means is that your body's got healthy protein synthesis going on. Your nails are keratin. It's a very complicated protein to synthesize. And if your nails are growing, that means your body is just humming and being able to synthesize proteins. And guess what? All your organs, your skin, your nerves, everything else is made up of protein. So if your nails are growing, it means that everything else is growing. You may not see it right away. Like, you're not going to go from being like 180 IQ to 220 overnight, but you will eventually, if you stick with this, you're going to see changes in all of these organ systems over time. So the skin and nails is one. Energy is definitely one that people will witness quickly. So if they haven't been taking any supplements, and it's not unusual for 30-year-olds and up to be kind of sleepy during the day. We're under a lot of stress. We're in our working period. A lot of us have kids. We don't get a good night's sleep, that kind of stuff. And so you get kind of groggy and sleepy during the day. You start taking this, you'll notice that doesn't really happen anymore. And then also you'll notice that when you sleep at night, you're going to have a much better quality of sleep and more regenerative sleep at night. So those are some of the early signs you can tell your prospective customers and your customers that they can expect right away. And then these other benefits are something that kick in over time. So the core minerals, which is part of the Cell Essentials, is half of it. This is a brilliant combination. We separate these two pills. We don't put them in one pill. And the reason is because they're not compatible together. So we've done a lot of laboratory testing where we've tried to put them into one pill. You have to do, it's really tricky to put all these things together in a safe, productive way. Now, it can be done, but in lower dosage, but not at the dosage that you would get in Cell Essentials. So the core minerals, this is really great. I love this product. It's brilliant. I came in 5 years ago and I saw the formulation for this and I thought, wow, okay, these guys really did their homework, because they picked forms of the minerals that are very gentle. Okay, and this is something that's very important, because I've had people, that are very interested in nutrition. I say, okay, well, try these. Oh no, I can't take vitamin pills. They upset my stomach. I'm like, well, they shouldn't be. Like, what are you taking? And they show me it's inevitably some, cheap brand. And so I'm like, okay, well, try this, try something that's better. And sure enough, they, usually they don't have an issue with it. Also, I would recommend that when people take the Cell Essentials on a daily basis, that they take it with their largest meal of the day. So whatever that is, whether there's some people that have a large breakfast and smaller meals during the day. For me, I have a fairly small breakfast. My largest meal is lunch, because I've got plenty of time during the day to digest that. And then I have a very small dinner in the evening. So I usually take my Cell Essentials during lunchtime. And then also that gives you the energy to carry through the afternoon and well into the evening, which is important, especially today, because this is my first call of the evening. I've got calls going on until 9 o'clock tonight. So I've got back to back to back teleconferences until 9 p.m. tonight. And you know what? I'll be absolutely fine. I was meeting with Kevin Guest in the office downtown at 9 o'clock this morning. So in this day and age, 12-hour days is not unusual, but it's something that even at my age, I have to pace myself and make sure I eat right and everything, but it's not completely impossible. Okay, so the core minerals contains a lot of minerals in it. You can read the label. There's a lot. I mean, everything that your body basically needs is in there. And then we also put in some other compounds in there, like acetylcysteine. This is an amazing compound. This is an amino acid that occurs in nature. We isolated it and put it into our products. But this is so important because it's the precursor for a tripeptide in your body called glutathione. And glutathione is like the master antioxidant. And so glutathione is the thing that makes you young. And I just love it. Once I figured out how to biohack and create glutathione in my body, that's when changes really, really occur. And that's been designed into the Cell Essentials. So that's actually part of the patent process that I'll talk about later. So this is a little esoteric, this slide here. Your body's composed of a lot of elements. We can go into this in nauseating detail, but it could be kind of boring. So I'll skip through that. So the Vita antioxidant, which is the other half, the other twin. So the Cell Essentials are twin products. So you've got the core minerals and you've got the Vita antioxidant. This is really brilliant because they put the antioxidants and vitamins together because they're compatible with each other. Okay, so as a matter of fact, they're synergistic with each other. So it's nice to package these two together. In nature, that's how actually nature does it too. It usually puts the vitamins and the antioxidants together in different fruits and vegetables. So this is exactly the way your body was designed to receive nutrition. So there's a lot of things in there, a lot of antioxidants. So things like poly-C, which is a form of ascorbic acid, vitamin C, but it's a special form that we've shown has greater delivery in your body. If you just take ascorbic acid, vitamin C tablets, you'll get a spike in vitamin C in your body, but it goes down very quickly. And actually, high doses of vitamin C by itself can actually be toxic to your body because it becomes a pro-oxidant rather than an antioxidant. So this is got some beautiful science in it. Vitamin D, we're at advanced levels, which means that back in the day, they used to say 400 IU was enough. And Dr. Wentz knew that wasn't right. And now the National Institutes of Health have bumped that up to, I believe it's 1,000 IU. We believe it's closer to 2,000 IU from a scientific standpoint. So that's what we formulate to. Folate, high levels of folate, folic acid. The vitamin Ks, these are new. These are fairly new. Vitamin K back in the day, in my day, I was taught that this one was actually toxic and you really didn't need to supplement it. But it turns out that there's multiple versions of vitamin K. You've got K1 and you've got K2. And these are actually, they need to be in balance with vitamin D. So if you're supplementing with vitamin D and you're not supplementing with vitamin K, you're going to be out of balance and you can have some clotting difficulties. So it's brilliant that he put these supplements together. So we put these antioxidants together, they're nutrients and antioxidants. And then something unique to Cell Essentials is the intelligence complex. And the intelligence complex, we'll get into that in later slides, but this is the thing that really makes Cell Essentials the value proposition behind it. Because no other vitamin, I don't care where you get it from, there's a lot of good manufacturers out there, but nobody has intelligence complex cell signaling. Nobody's thinking that far in advance right now. And luckily, we've already patented it, so they can't get into the space anyway. So the idea behind nutrition, Dr. Wentz has always been about nourish and protect. Okay, so the very earliest essentials that were produced by USANA back in the late 90s, early 2000s, had a broad spectrum of vitamins, minerals, and antioxidants. So he was into producing the very best bioavailable vitamin mineral supplement. And then the research led him to antioxidants for protection and increasing lifespan, increasing health span. And so USANA became an expert, a world expert in antioxidants. And then we incorporated those into different versions, upgrades of the essentials over the last few decades. And then the latest thing is Renew. And this is where biohacking comes in. Okay, and this comes into this is where we're using natural compounds to actually target specific cell pathways, cell signaling pathways in your body. And that is biohacking. That's exactly what it is. It's kind of almost using cheat codes to upregulate the things that you want and downregulate the things you don't want. One of the things that we've been successful and we've been able to get a patent on is being able to trigger mitochondrial regeneration. And you say, oh, well, that's special. What is that all about? Well, the mitochondria is the powerhouses of your cell. They're the things that generate all the energy. So the fact that I'm talking and I'm alive and my lights are on right now is due to the fact that my mitochondria are working overtime to turn all that food that I ate into energy that can power my brain, can power my heart, my mouth, my muscles, my eyes, all that stuff. But the thing is, these mitochondria that are throughout your body, they're just like a power plant or an engine in a car. Over time, they get polluted and they break down and they become inefficient. But your body has a solution. It should trigger a mechanism to recycle these things. So they should go through what's called apoptosis, which is cell death. And they should basically die, break down, and then be regenerated into new things, kind of a recycling process. But in a lot of cases, the foods that we eat and the deficiency of nutrients inhibit this apoptosis and regeneration. And again, we've been able to, by providing the nutrients in the cell essentials, plus these cell signaling compounds, we're able to upregulate that process. And I'm telling you, I've been using it now for 5 years. I'm obviously 5 years older, 5 years down the road, but I feel young. Honestly, I feel like I'm in college again. I feel like I'm almost in my college years again. Like that level of energy and that level of activity and the brain power, that I needed to get all those degrees and everything like that. Like I had lost that for a while, honestly, and I was wondering if that's going to come back or, people had convinced me that, that's part of the aging process. Just get used to it. That was your college days. Those are gone. Now you're going to be in your older years. And that's not the answer I wanted to hear. So I found an alternate solution, and Cell Essentials and USANA is the alternate solution right there. It's the alternate reality if you want to live it. Okay, so here's our patent. Okay, this was issued just recently on April 28th on 2020. And it's methods and compositions for supporting endogenous systems related to lifespan. Okay, and that's a very legalistic. If you've ever written patents, and I've written dozens of patents in my life, it's sort of a hybrid between geeky scientific talk and geeky legal talk. And you have to be kind of proficient in all of them. If you ever read a patent, if you ever need to sleep at night, start reading a patent. And if you make it to page 2, you're like really good. Because nobody reads these things. It's just a legal document. But anyway, this is great that USANA got this. This is going to last us for 20 years. So until 2040, we've got the exclusive on these ingredients for cell signaling and triggering and biohacking the processes in the body. So it's really just something that's I'm so proud of. This work was started long before I even got to USANA. I'm glad that I got to see it through to the end to where the patents were filed. And now I'm just, we're going to be using this intelligence technology long into the future. It's so exciting. What we've done with it so far is just amazing. But I'm telling you, the potential of what we can do with it over the next couple of decades to get us up to 150 years old, I think is just absolutely unbelievable. Hey, Krista and Andre, I think you guys might make it. I think it would be fantastic. I would love to make it too. I'll join you. I'll be the senior guy, but I'll join you guys on this. Okay, so health. Okay, the bottom line. This is the punchline. is health and wellness. A lot of it, you know, there's a portion, and you saw it's about 25% of it is due to genetics. Okay, and 75% of it is due to lifestyle. You know, what are you inputting into your body? How are you living? How are you choosing to live your life? So the great news is, you know, even if you've got crappy genetics, you know, and there's some people that have, I'll tell you from my mother's side, I've got really crappy genetics. Well, actually from both sides, you know, not the best of genetics. Okay. But that's okay. That's really okay, because I know how to get around that. You know, I've been dealt kind of not the best hand, but I'm a really good poker player. So I'm still going to win the hand. So anyway, that's kind of the attitude you've got to take is, you know, whatever you've been dealt genetically, and you should probably know what that is. And we're actually making some inroads right now into USANA getting involved into nutrigenomics, where we'll be able to help our customers really assess their genetic potential and how that affects their risk. I think that'll be a really big thing for the future, because you need to know. I mean, you need to know where you stand. You need to know what hands you've been dealt. And then hopefully that will lend some urgency to people that otherwise wouldn't be very urgent about it. Okay, so let's just circle back. Okay, we got to make this number go down. Okay, it's just unsustainable. It's going to bankrupt the country. It's going to bankrupt every country. Canada's actually in worse shape than the United States is from a government funding perspective. They're predicting that it's going to bankrupt the government sooner than even here. But it may be just that our government's in denial. I really don't know. I don't play politics and stuff like that. It's just too annoying, very unscientific. And so the fact is we need to drive that number down. And part of it is through personal responsibility that we talked about last week and taking some preventative steps. This is something interesting. I'm going to share it with you. This was a picture that was taken back in November, late November in Beijing. So it's Dr. Oz and myself meeting with the Beijing University of Chinese Medicine, and really going there to talk to them about some collaborations and some work that we can do. And why is that? And the answer is because, you know, Eastern medicine actually has some really interesting, cost-effective ways of dealing with chronic things better than the Western medicine system does. And so we're exploring it. We're actually, we're collaborating right now on some projects together. And this is something that USANA is going to take a leadership position in, because it's going to be good for the entire world. Because a lot of what goes on in China right now, particularly their 5,000-year-old tradition of Chinese medicine, is very mysterious to people. You know, they don't know what to make of it. You know, is it snake oil? Is it real? If something lasts for 5,000 years, there's probably something real to it. You know, otherwise people would have discarded it a long time ago. So we're exploring to try and find what is the root, what's the secrets that they have that we can use to apply to increase our lifespan and our well span. So we're not only tapping into Western science and Western medicine in the biggest way possible, but we're also now tapping into Eastern medicine in the biggest way possible. So this is another breakthrough I just wanted to share with you. That is the end of my presentation. And so now I'll turn it back over to you.
That was incredible. I was here taking notes like I was back in school, and I'll tell you, Nick, who is on the call with me, Fernanda, we went to school together. I never took notes, and I have pages. You know, that was really exciting. Some questions came in, and I'm gonna pull them up here, and I think they're really great questions and the stuff to think about. The first one that came in was, what is the most common thing that people overlook that can help the prevention level against getting sick?
Yeah, you know what? That's a great question, Andre. So, okay, the thing they overlook the most, I think a lot of people just don't realize it's within their control. So a lot of people just give in to, you know, they believe that story. You know, I had so many people and smart people that were just like, you know what? You know, when I was really in a bad shape, in a bad way, I didn't have a lot of friends that were telling me, oh, you can reverse all that. Matter of fact, I didn't have very many at all that said that. They're just like, you know what? Well, hey, you know what? You're 50 now, and that's just kind of how it is. You just got to give into it and learn how to play golf, and just kind of like learn how to relax, and that kind of stuff. And so I guess the number one thing that I'd like to tell people is this stuff's within your control. So don't be playing victim, like, like, oh, it's inevitable. I'm just, I'm feeling tired. My bones are achy and whatever. And no, fight against it. Fight that. Do you want to live to 150? Maybe you don't want to live to 150, but how about 100? How about a healthy 100 where you're healthy, and then all of a sudden you drop dead? Wouldn't that be fantastic? Like you're never sick, just like it would be fantastic. I want people to live like that.
That was great. And one of the things I love that I saw in the presentation over and over again was obesity and activity. The inactivity and obesity being linked together. So what a clue to move your body and really get a handle on your weight. So thank you for that.
Yes, sir.
There's a second question that I really liked. Okay. There are people who smoke every day and live on a diet of bacon and cherry Coke. Why do some people like that live to their 90s, and how much do genetics play into that?
Yeah. You know what? That's another great question. Okay, here's the thing is I've seen people like that. They're extremely rare. So don't count on it. Here's the thing is there are some people that just have these amazing genetics. I remember reading about some lady in France that drank a bottle of wine every day. She smoked cigars every day of her life that she could remember. And she lived to, like, I think she was 106 or something like that. And they made a big story about this. And the thing is, the reason that that's big news is because it's so rare. Like she went against everything, but her genetics were probably just off the chart amazing. She probably had the best detoxification. She had the best cell signaling to begin with. She didn't have to biohack. She was naturally, wired that way. But don't count on it. Like I know for a fact that would not work for me. I just suspect that for 99.99% of people, that's not going to work. I mean, if that's the strategy you want to try, and it's kind of like playing Russian roulette. If you want to do that, hey, you know what? It's personal choice and personal responsibility, but I wouldn't do that myself. Although I do like the occasional piece of bacon. I have to look, I'm not going to be a hypocrite or a liar. I'm not going to tell you that I don't eat unhealthy foods ever. You know what? I enjoy a little taste of something every now and then just to wake up my palate, but I don't make a meal out of it. And I eat healthy most of the time. So that's kind of the story.
Yeah. Don't count on it. All right. I have a good question for you, I think, especially to all the parents out there. Of course, we want the best for our children. I know some people have picky eaters. Some kids eat really well. Hopefully all of our kids are on Usanimals. But sometimes it's a bit of a fight. And I would love any encouragement to the parents of, are the things that we're doing now, does that affect them positively in the future in terms of the preventative landscape?
Yeah. Okay, Krista, that's a great question. So, okay, there's this thing called epigenetics. Okay. And so you're born with certain genetic traits, right? But then there's this thing called epigenetics where certain genes are turned on and off by the things that you do. And it's showing that a lot of the things that you do early in life, when you're a young child, when you're just 1, 2, 3, younger than 10 years old, will have a lifelong impact. So allowing kids to eat unhealthy until they're 10 and then hope they clean it up later is probably, again, it's just a bad strategy, if you really want to maximize. So I can imagine, you obviously eat very healthy. I'm sure that the meals you serve for your son are very healthy. Mm-hmm. And so I would just encourage that. And then also that data that you saw that I showed you about the nutritional deficiencies for people 19 and above, it's the same. You know what, that was just a subset of the data that we analyzed. But I'll tell you, if you look at younger children, it's going to be the same type of thing where there's a lot of nutritional deficiencies. And particularly nutritional deficiencies younger in life, what will happen is it can trigger those epigenetic events that could lead to major things down the road. So again, if you really want to achieve that 150 lifespan or get close to it, I believe it's possible. You really, from day one, you have to do everything right. With children, I think a very important thing with young children is probiotics. And USANA has a tremendous probiotic, but there's also a lot of probiotic foods that you should be eating too. Fibers, dietary fibers, fruits, vegetables. When I lived in Canada, I was pleased by how much fresh fruits and vegetables were available there. And my kids loved them. During the summertime, that's almost all we ate, was just fresh fruits and vegetables because it was so abundant. So I would encourage parents to do that if you can, just don't wait for your children, and if they're picky eaters, then we've got supplements that are for picky eaters. You kind of slip it into their, slip it in during the day, and it covers the things that they're missing.
Absolutely. Now, I think you've covered this next question in terms of the cell essentials, but would you say there is a top three recommendation for USANA products that would really be on the must-have list for prevention?
Okay, so that's a tough one because it's hard to get it down to three. Okay, Cell Essentials is number one by far. Okay, so that's the rock, that's the foundation. You have to have that because that covers so many bases. Even if that's the only thing you do, you're probably going to be fine. But then you have to look at the person themselves, and you have to go a little more into detail about their genetics and their lifestyle and things like that. For me, one that I love because I'm outdoors a lot is Vision X. Okay, and you think, oh, Vision X, why? Is your eyesight bad? No, but it's great for skin health. I'm out in the sun a lot, okay, just because I live out, I'm outdoors all the time. And lutein and the zeaxanthin and all those things that are the carotenoids that are we developed it originally for eye health, but it's turning out that those things are amazing for skin health, for protecting your skin and regenerating it. So I grew up in Arizona. I was a lifeguard for years in Arizona, the hottest place under a bright sun. And man, I had so many sunburns, and my dad is just he's just a terrible, just walking, cutting pieces off of him and things like that. I've got no issues at all with my skin, even though I spent years under the sun, because my body was able to regenerate and heal itself. And a lot of that's due to things like zeaxanthin and the carotenoids and things, which if you were eating an ideal diet in paradise, you would be getting all those through your fruits and vegetables, but nobody's getting that. And you saw on the CRN data that that's one of the nutrients that's actually been proven to decrease your risk of certain conditions. And then like the third one is a tough, like, how do I pick a third one? Okay, probiotics. Okay, I'm a huge person in favor of the microbiome. So that's one I do every single day is you got to do the probiotics, because your gut health is so important, not only for your gut feeling good, but it triggers so many things within your body. It triggers your gut is your key to your immune system. If your gut is healthy, your immune system is generally healthy. If your gut is off, like leaky bowel or even subclinical things like that, you're going to end up with a lot of problems, things leaking across from your gut into your body, causing inflammation and all sorts of things. So you've got to get your gut in balance. So if I had to pick three things, those are my three major biohacks would be right there.
That's amazing. I just love the word biohack too. I want to be a biohacker.
You are a biohacker.
So we have probably at least 100 questions that we didn't get to. So just want to encourage everyone to leverage askthescientist.com. It's such an incredible resource. I use it all the time. And you can contact the scientist through that as well. All right, Dre. So what is this big news you have for us?
Well, the first big news was that Dr. Rob was a lifeguard. I feel like one day you're going to say, yeah, I used to be Superman and I hung up the cape. You've done everything. But there are about 2,000 people that have been on this call. There were almost 2,000 last week and 3,000 our first week. One of the most popular ones in the series has been immunity. the immunity, the first episode. So because of the popularity of the immunity episode, we are going to have an encore next week. The same time, we are going to do the immunity presentation again with Dr. Rob Sinnott. So we had 3,000 on that first one. I think we have space up to 5,000. I put a challenge out there to the whole USANA universe to invite all your friends, to invite all your family, because immunity is something that's really important. And who's better? Nobody than Dr. Rob Sinnott. So join us next week. Spread the news. It hasn't been announced yet, so you're hearing it here first. We broke the story. See you next week, guys.
I'm so excited. Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Rob Sinnott. Thank you,
My
everyone,
pleasure.
for being here.
Okay. You guys take care. Have a great week. I'll see you next Wednesday. Bye now.
See you next Wednesday.
See you next Wednesday, everybody.